Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Preeti Sharma, Assistant Professor from Galgotias University. In this module, I am going to tell you about the concept of arson, about chemistry of fire. In this, you will learn about what are the various telltale signs of arson and what are the various procedures used to recover the fire scene evidence and the laboratory examination for the identification of accelerant residues. Fire is a spontaneous burning process which has huge devastating effects on persons and property. In many cases, crime investigators encountered with fire scenes which show observable signs pointing towards the deliberate origin of fire. The fire with deliberate origin or the intentional fire has been differentially termed as arson. The motive for arson can be various. Fire can be started by a short person or their agents for the purpose of financial gain. Fire can also be started by some individuals to become a hero. Here the perpetrator of fire in this category are usually those who feel a need to be recognized by others in the community, and fire can also be started to fulfill a need. In this, the perpetrator is found to have a mental disorder, for example those who receive the mental stimulation from witnessing a fire, that is for psychological satisfaction. Arson often present complex and difficult circumstances to investigate. The damage caused may range through structures as well as vehicles or any other personal property. The criminal's function is very important here, since he or she is trained to detect and identify relevant chemical materials collected at the scene which help in reconstructing the crime and in identifying trace amounts of gasoline or kerosene in the debris, or in some cases igniters which is used to set the fire can also be found. What is fire? Fire is rapid oxidation with evolution of heat and light. The three elements are needed to produce and sustain a fire, which form a fire triangle, where the three corners of the triangle depict fuel, oxygen and heat which are required for sustaining a fire. Most solids and liquid fuels become a vapor or gas before they will burn. A liquid, example petroleum, kerosene, mineral, turpentine, burns when the temperature is high enough to vaporize it. This temperature is called as flash point. The flash point is the lowest temperature at which a liquid gives off sufficient vapor to form a mixture with air that will support combustion, while a solid must be hot enough to decompose into gaseous products. This chemical breakdown of solid material is known as pyrolysis. A fire can also have accidental causes, including faulty wiring, overheated electric motors, improperly cleaned and regulated heating systems, and cigarette smokes as well. These usually leave no chemical traces. Thus, the final determination of the cause of fire must consider numerous factors and requires an extensive on-site investigation by the criminalistic. Now, let us understand the procedure which is used to examine the scene. This process starts with a preliminary survey. The investigation team following arrival at the scene should gather as much information as possible from the police officers and the firefighters. Initially, the CSI should thoroughly record the scene both photographically and by note making. Video is an excellent tool for recording the scene for possible future reconstructions, as it records in the low light conditions and provides the viewer with a 360-degree view. A search of fire scene must focus on finding the fire's origin, which will prove most productive in any search for an accelerant or ignition device. This is called as the point of origin of fire. The point of origin is determined where the fire usually starts and is usually the area that contains the most of the damage. Once point of origin is determined, the cause of fire is determined. Secondly, After the preliminary survey, a systematic and more detailed examination of the scene is done, which involves disturbance where necessary and obtaining further witness evidence together with relevant documentary information, which should be conducted so that a view may be formed as to the material which became ignited and the source of ignition. Now, how to locate the seat of fire? There are a number of clues which help in locating the seat of fire. Low burning where the floor is most damaged and high burning where the ceiling is most damaged may help locate the seat of fire. The V pattern is the usual burn pattern. These are the classic indicators with the V pattern burn having the seat of fire at its base. Fire usually burns longer at the point of origin. Presence of accelerant or ignition devices is also found at the seat of fire. There is extensive ceiling damage above the point of origin of fire. Glass and plastic melts towards the heat produced by the fire. So, these are also called as thermal indicators and so they can be of use in locating the seat of fire. Smoke damage may travel away from the fire, so will also help in its location. Now, coming to various signs of deliberate fire, that is various telltale signs of arson. In a search to determine the specific point of origin of a fire, the investigator may uncover various telltale signs of arson. Arson may be suspected if there is evidence of a forced entry having been made to the building, there is evidence of more than one independent area of origin of fire, where the development of the fire was unusually rapid, indicating the use of substance in causing fire, where accidental cause of fire can be positively eliminated. Use of substance in assisting fire may also be found in the cases of arson in these forms. This can be in the form of combustible material such as paper, trail leading from one story to another in like a warehouse or a factory which was not normally kept in that position. There can be use of delayed ignition device or residue of a flammable liquid can be found, or effects of a burning flammable liquid on the surrounding areas can be seen, such as burning inflammable liquids causes well defined char or scorch patterns on the combustible floorboards and on the floor coverings. Now, what are the various evidence of accelerant use? There is large amount of damage in these cases, there is unusual burn pattern, there is high heat stress, and there can be multiple sites of origin of fire. Various other signs of deliberate fire are sign of breaking door or window, tampering of fire appliances, unusual arrangement of the furniture, perhaps piled around the seat of fire, theft, removal of articles dear to the arsonist from the building for safekeeping prior to the ignition of the fire. The fire may also be set to cover up and to destroy evidence of another crime such as a murder or theft. Now, coming to the procedure which is used to recover the samples from a scene of fire. While looking for evidences that may highlight the cause of fire, the investigators have to look near the area around the origin of fire. Debris from the areas around the origin as well as areas showing potential pour patterns is collected to test for accelerant residues at the laboratory. For the same purpose, an on-site screening may be made using a highly sensitive portable vapor detector, which is also called as sniffer. This device can rapidly screen suspect materials for the presence of volatile residues by sucking them in the air surrounding the questioned sample. The air is passed over a heated filament. If a combustible vapor is present in the sample, it oxidizes and immediately increases the temperature of the filament, which results in deflection on the detector's meter. Although this test does not provide a conclusive remark, but it does provide the investigator with an excellent screening device for checking suspect sample at the fire scene. The sniffer dogs that have been trained and conditioned to recognize the odor of hydrocarbon accelerant are also used commonly to search and screen the question sample for the presence of accelerant residues. As a matter of routine, 2 to 3 quarts of ash and soot debris must be collected at the point of origin of a fire when arson is suspected. The collection should also include all porous materials and all other substances thought likely to contain the flammable residues such as wood flooring, rugs, etc. Specimens are to be immediately packed in airtight containers, so no loss of possible residues can occur through the process of evaporation. New clean paint cans with friction lids are good containers. Wide mouth glass jars are also used for packaging suspect specimens provided that they contain airtight lids. Cans and jars should be filled 1/2 to 2/3 full, leaving an air space in the container above the debris. Plastic polythene bags are not suitable for packing specimens because they react with hydrocarbons and permit volatile hydrocarbon vapors to be depleted. Along with sample from point of origin, a control sample should also be collected. This is a material from a different room or location, and it is required because common materials such as plastic floor, tiles, carpet can produce volatile hydrocarbons when they are burned. These breakdown products can sometimes be mistaken for an accelerant. Fluids found in open bottles or cans, even if they appear empty, must also be collected and sealed since they may contain trace amounts of liquids or vapors. A thorough search of the scene should be made for igniters. The most common igniter is a matchstick. Normally, the match is completely consumed during the process of fire. However, there have been cases in which by force of habit, the arsonist tossed aside the half-burnt match, which can be recovered later by the investigator. This evidence may prove valuable if the investigator can successfully fit the match to a matchbox found in the possession of a suspect. In addition, an arsonist can construct many other types of devices to start a fire. These include a burning cigarette, ammunition, a mechanical match striker, electrical sparking devices, and in some cases a Molotov cocktail. One important piece of evidence is also the clothing of the suspect perpetrator. If the suspect is arrested within a few hours after the fire, each clothing item should be collected and placed in a separate airtight container. Now, coming to the laboratory procedure which is used for examination of exhibits. This starts with the visual examination. The debris is to be searched in a controlled laboratory conditions with good lighting to identify any item that may have caused the fire, such as a lighter or a cigarette or anything. The possibility that the arsonist may have intentionally left the device or devices which may have escaped the damage caused by fire should not be ruled out. The next task of forensic chemist is to look for the presence of accelerant in the debris. The accelerant vapor in air above the sample is removed from the container using various methods and then injected into the GC, which is one of the most commonly used technique for detecting and characterizing flammable residues. GC separates the hydrocarbon components and produces a chromatograph pattern which is characteristics of a particular petroleum product. To separate volatile accelerant residue from the fire scene debris, headspace method is the most commonly used and conventional techniques are also there. In this, the container containing the debris is heated from outside at temperature not reaching beyond 60 degrees Celsius. The collected vapor in the airspace is then collected using a syringe which is punctured through the container wall, and through suction all the vapor is collected. This sample air is then injected into the GC. There is a shortcoming of headspace technique which owes to limited volume of vapor that can be collected inside the syringe by this process. This shortcoming has been resolved by the introduction of another method called as vapor concentration. This is also called as passive headspace method. In this method, a charcoal coated strip is placed within the container holding the fire scene debris. The container is then heated to about 60 degrees Celsius for about an hour. As a result, the accelerant vapor in significant quantity gets collected into the container airspace and finally gets absorbed onto the charcoal strip. Once the heating procedure is completed, the strip is easily removed out from the container and then the accelerant is recovered from the strip by washing with a small volume of solvent, preferably carbon disulfide is used in this case. The solvent is then injected into the GC where it is again volatilized for analysis. The major advantage of using vapor concentration with GC is its extreme sensitivity due to adsorption onto the charcoal strip. When the vapor is injected into the GC, it is separated into its components and each peak is recorded on the chromatogram in the form of a characteristic pattern. The chromatogram pattern of vapor residues in question is then matched with the pattern of known standards of petroleum products to recognize the accelerant type. In some cases, the interpretation based on GC chromatogram is quite difficult due to mixture of accelerant or from heat generated pyrolysis products of materials burnt at the fire scene. In these cases, GC combined with mass spectrometry, that is MS, has proven to be a valuable technique for solving difficult problems in the detection of accelerant residues. The unique feature of MS is that under carefully controlled conditions, no two substance produces the same fragmentation pattern. This generates a unique pattern like fingerprints of the substance being examined. So, coming to the summary of this module. Arson is the act of deliberately setting things on fire. When a fire occurs, oxygen combines with the fuel to produce noticeable quantities of heat and light flames. If combustion is to be initiated and sustained, a fuel must be present, oxygen must be available, heat must be applied to initiate and sustain the process of combustion. In any case of fire, the arson investigator needs to examine the fire scene for signs of arson. As soon as the fire has been extinguished, the investigator should search the fire scene to find the fire's origin. This site contains useful evidence to explain the cause of fire. Some telltale signs of arson include evidence of separate and unconnected fires, the use of connectors to spread the fire from one region to another, and evidence of severe burning found on the floor as opposed to the ceiling of a structure. The importance of porous materials at the fire origin is also there due to the fact that it contains the residues of accelerant used by the person who has set fire. So, porous materials such as carpet, bed sheets, curtains, clothes, etc. should be collected and packed in the airtight metal glass containers to avoid loss of volatile compounds. In the laboratory, the volatile components is separated from the debris collected from the fire scene using various techniques such as headspace and vapor concentration. This involves application of heat to separate the volatile components from the sample. They differ on the basis that in the headspace the separated volatile sample is collected in the syringe, while in passive headspace it is adsorbed on the charcoal strip. In any case, the sample is identified using GC, which is the most sensitive and reliable instrument for detecting and characterizing flammable residues. Most arsons are initiated by petroleum distillates such as gasoline and kerosene. The GC separates the hydrocarbon components and produces a chromatographic pattern characteristic of a particular petroleum product. By comparing select GC peaks recovered from the fire scene debris to the known flammable liquid, a forensic analyst may be able to identify the accelerant type which is used to initiate the fire. Thank you for watching this video.